It's that time again. Welcome to another hour of gleeful gaming goodness.
You know the score. We've got news, reviews, interviews, and most of all, a plentitude of games to satiate all appetites.
Coming up on this week's show.
This is the casting couch, so it kind of helps.
Of course, yeah, welcome to the casting couch.
We're not going to do it! 9 seconds left to go! You can see on the VT that I'm not very good at...
Oh, it's so close to winning the first round. Come on, Mhairi. Oh!
News!
So once again, we're looking at what the latest news is in the world of gaming and what's going on this week.
Well, there's no real big story this week, unfortunately, but there's lots of little things going on. A not-so-little thing, though, is the Tokyo Game Show, which opens its 4-day run on Thursday, Greg. All the big console makers are there. It's a fantastically big show, the biggest in Asia. But the interesting bit about this is the fact that neither Xbox nor the PS4 are lighting up the Japanese market. They're not selling very well, actually. The PS4 has been selling 6,000 or 7,000 units a week, sometimes being outsold by the old PlayStation 3, in fact.
So has Nintendo got its grip firmly there, have
Nintendo do really well with the 3DS, but also the Japanese market, they're really into mobile games. They're really embracing smartphone games. It's actually the biggest growing sector in Japan. In fact, the biggest growing sector in the world is in Japan for mobile games. So yeah, bizarre. You would have thought the PlayStation 4 would sell really well, but selling much better over here than it is in Japan. So
that's
we
particularly
see how
strange.
things turn out at the Tokyo Game Show.
There you go. So it shows the difference culturally between different territories and what's going on.
Absolutely.
In board games news, Fantasy Flight Games have got 2 upcoming Army Pack expansions for a fantastic game. They've got Battle Lore 2nd Edition. They have the Henfar Guardians and the Demonic Units of the Warband of Scorn. If you haven't played the game, it's quite exciting.
I've not played it.
Miniatures on a board game. Very exciting, and this is the 2nd edition.
What's
of
interesting about this set?
It's just going to add a lot more to the game, basically. So
okay.
There you go.
Do you need the original game to play it?
Yeah, it's very much so. It's an expansion rather than a standalone thing. So.
Okay, fair enough. Mojang has confirmed, as we talked about last week, that it has sold Minecraft, or has been sold. The company has been sold to Microsoft for $2.5 billion. $2.5 billion.
I thought it was $1.5.
No, $2.5 billion.
Wow.
The news was confirmed on the developer's website. They've cashed in. How can you blame them? If someone drove a dump truck full of that much money up to my house, I think I would say, sure, take whatever I created. Although, interestingly, Microsoft expect to break even on their acquisition by the end of June next year.
Fantastic.
Apparently.
Well, they've got some very brave
they're
ideas.
They're producing a lot of turnover there, so that's an interesting one.
Intrigued to see how that goes. Also, another release coming out at the moment is Marvel Dice Masters. That came out last year, and in another country, in this country, it was more this year.
Very popular. It was very hard to get hold of, wasn't it?
Very hard to get hold of in the UK. And this may be the same with their 2nd release, which is the Uncanny X-Men. So going with the Marvel Dice Masters Avengers vs.
Have they caught up with
X-Men.
demand yet? Do you think? Is this
The people who do it, WizKids, have done a 2nd release of the original set, and with this, it's going to be a case, are we going to have a problem or not? We'll have to see.
Okie dokie. PlayStation maker Sony has quadrupled the amount of money it expects to lose this financial year in a profit warning it blamed on smartphones. They spent a lot of money developing smartphones that they thought were going to take on the iPhone, etc., but they have not worked out. So this is all despite the success of the PlayStation 4, which is kind of propping up the division at the moment. So yeah, not good news for Sony there.
Another really quick thing is there's a reprint of the family game Dixit coming out. It's basically a picture game. It's great for non-gamers as a gateway game. Not a lot more to say than that. Reprint, very popular game, should be really good, and we'll be reviewing it in a future show very soon. So.
Fantastic. Out this week, Train Simulator 2015, Hyrule Warriors on the Nintendo. That's got some fantastic reviews. We'd like to play that. Wasteland 2 on the PC and Mac, and a very funny sounding game, Arcana Heart 3 Love Max ! 5 times on the Vita. So,
well, we look forward to that. Well, that's the news for this week, and we'll see what's going on next week.
Review.
Well, here it is, the game everyone is talking about. The internet has cast its judgment, but what does Jim make of it? Let's find out.
Destiny. It's a pretty deep concept. You can find synonyms for it which include objective, prospect, inevitability, fortune, conclusion, serendipity, and other such fanciful words. To attempt to surmise one's intended destiny in a few short minutes would seem disrespectful. Foolhardy, even. The fact is, you can't, quite frankly. Unless you're aiming very low in life. And in this sense, Bungie's new epic adventure is aptly named. So much so, in fact, that I'm not going to give it a review score. But more about that in a minute. According to Wikipedia, Destiny is an online, persistent world first-person shooter in a mythic science fiction open-world setting. Make sense? Yeah, sort of. Okay, so you basically take Halo and stick it in a blender with Mass Effect and the Old Republic. Ergo, you got yourself a sci-fi, epic online, single-player stroke multiplayer open adventure. You'll start the game with a choice of 3 character types. Titan, tank, Warlock, mage, and Hunter, ranger? Rogue? Something like that. Like most modern MMOs, you'll choose your class, customize your appearance, and be dropped into the world. Oh, and don't forget, you're special! Just like everyone else playing. Bungie already had a great reputation for shooting mechanics and general all-round polish, and believe me, it's all here, and then some. Firing, movement, and switching out gear is tight, responsive, and intuitive right from the start. As for customization, Destiny has a well-balanced leveling system that creeps up at a good pace while offering you plenty of opportunity for upgrading your armor and weapons, as well as adding new abilities as you go. The game looks beautiful, with a delicately detailed future dystopian world presented on all fronts. The skies in particular are the sort you want to sit and stare at all day. And then there's the soundtrack, possibly the best I've ever heard in a video game. Not only does it entice and enthrall you with its epic compositions, but it never fails to carry momentum through loading screens and back into gameplay. An endless, seamlessly synchronized symphony. The single-stroke multiplayer element is seamless too, and a real showcase for next-gen capabilities, as you'll see players drop in and out of your game world in a fluid and unobtrusive way. So far, I haven't felt that horrible crowded feeling you get in some games as you queue up to take down an area boss or speak to the mission man, etc. Cutscenes are pretty rare, and when you do get them, they're full of epic space opera speak that acts like Marmite to most gamers. Some love it, some hate it. Personally, I can't get enough of it. This aspect has been criticized a lot by reviewers for not outlining a more specific storyline. I think they failed to understand the old adage, show, don't tell. Which basically means, why should some guy you've just met explain to you the entire history of your world and where and when it's likely to end? You can see what's happening, so you don't need a 20-minute monologue to explain it. And nor should you. Right, rant over. But by far the biggest criticism of Destiny is the population versus the world space debate. It's an enormous area to play in, across the solar system quite literally, which contains vast, sprawling areas to explore and engage with the enemy. At release, Bungie issued a statement to players to not trust early reviews of the game, as they would not take into account the effect that the growing population will have on the experience of gameplay. And this brings us back to my original statement. I will not give this game a score. Yet. Destiny is part of a new breed of games, an exciting new frontier that has been made possible by the ever-marching progress of technology. Aside from its expertly executed shooting mechanics, leveling, looting, and a majestic art style, it is a huge, ever-evolving game space, which does admittedly feel a little hollow right now, but has evolutionary possibilities that neither Bungie nor the players can know or predict. It is impossible for me to review Destiny because, for one, I simply have not played enough of the whole game to give a reasonable account of all the current facets of gameplay, and two, the game simply hasn't existed long enough for anyone to know its true worth. It would be like trying to guess at the personality and likely prosperity of a person having just spent a few weeks with it after its birth. The conclusion being it cries a lot and constantly shits its pants. That conclusion, sir, is presumptuous and prone to error. Destiny, like its name implies, is something that lies in the future and is therefore uncertain. What its destiny will hold for Bungie and gamers alike? We can only wait and see. Let's hope it fulfills it.
So there's the review, and at this point, normally we'd be turning around, looking at our big screen, and we'd be giving it a star rating and, of course, our boardometer rating. But shame on you, Jim. Apparently, we're not going to have one.
I'm sorry, guys. You know what? You try playing Destiny. It's only been out for a week or two. It is impossible at this point to give it a score. It's such a huge game, and there's so much potential for it. So I'm sorry, but I can't give you a review of score right now, Greg.
OK, well, I presume we're going to have something in the future, though.
Absolutely, we'll have something in the future.
So there you go. So watch this space, and we'll see what's going to be coming up in the future for Destiny.
After the break.
The great thing about the industry is it's evolving, it's always changing.
Welcome back. This week, Greg and I were lucky enough to be invited to a major game studio in London for a special interview.
That's right, Bandai Namco gave us a sneak peek at their UK headquarters and told us at length about their upcoming games, as well as thoughts of the state of the industry. Here are some highlights.
Okay, I'm here with Lee Kirkton, who is the marketing manager, PR director of Bandai Namco Games UK, something like that?
I'll take that.
You'll take that?
Yeah.
You'll take that. Well, Lee, thank you very much for inviting us to your beautiful
Welcome.
studio here. We're here on the casting couch, surrounded by Pac-Man and ghosts and all kinds of posters and a scary Dark Souls 2 poster, which is overhanging us from the back of the room. But tell us a little bit about your job and what goes on here.
Okay, so my job is I look after the PR and marketing for all of our titles across all of our video games, across all types.
Just
of
in the
formats.
UK, or
just in the UK? I've worked in Europe as well, previous, but currently for the last few years I've been focusing 100% on the UK market. That does have some overseas effects as well when we work with our European teams and our US teams as well. But my focus is looking after the beautiful gamers and fans of the UK, working with my wonderful
most
team.
beautiful gamers in the world.
Yes,
The gamers of the UK.
Well, they don't have to be beautiful, but you know, that's up to them.
This is the casting couch, so it kind of helps.
Of course, yeah. Welcome to the casting couch.
So you're a gamer. We've got to establish that
Yeah,
before we go any
massively,
further.
yeah,
You're not a suit who's never played a game before.
No, I'm wearing a smart jacket. Just
That's
for
right.
the pleasure of the casting
Just to
couch
make
with
sure
you.
he wasn't
Yeah.
wearing a white shirt and a pink tie when we came in.
Absolutely, no. I started when I was 19 years old in the games industry, so I was very much a gamer and a fan of films and a major geek.
So did you start with Bandai Namco? Where did you
So
start?
I started a company called GT Interactive back in 1997.
Okay.
We were quite famous at the time for working on games like Doom and Quake and Abe's Odyssey,
Nice.
And specifically
Good games to promote there.
Yeah, Driver was a big title. Unreal was a big license. I worked on Unreal Tournament, and then that sort of moved into another company, which was Infogrames at the time, that was famous for sort of V-Rally and many other brilliant games at the time. Alone in the Dark was a big title we worked on back then, and then Infogrames turned into Atari, and it was really cool to work for Atari, which
Such a great name in games.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
great brand, and we had some brilliant licenses to work with a classic IP and then work with new IP and continue the Driver franchise and work with some movie licenses as well. So we worked on some pretty devastatingly terrible movie licenses as well as some really great ones. And you know, I remember sort of working on the Matrix series for a few years, and that was definitely a high point in my career and a lot of fun to work on at the time. We worked quite heavily on Enslaved, which had at the time probably the most advanced kind of performance capture with Andy Serkis, and he's obviously responsible for some of the greatest performance captures with you know, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Planet of the Apes, and working with him on Enslaved and games like, you know, Heavy Rain and games like The Last of Us show how, you know, you can take games and make them pretty much into
Playable movies,
films.
basically.
Yeah. I still believe to a degree that games should remain as games and films should remain as films, because they're both two very different mediums.
The gameplay mechanics have surely got to be central always to a game.
Absolutely. You don't want to be just staring at a screen for 3 or 4 hours watching cutscenes, because there has to be some major innovation and interaction. Otherwise, they just become film.
Fantastic. And so that's quite a long time you've been working in marketing games. Obviously, that is a long time in technology in games. So how has it changed over that period of time?
It's changed very, very quickly.
Must be hard to keep ahead of it.
Well, yeah, very much so, and you've got to keep ahead of it as well, because if you're left in the past, it's like, you know, anything else that's sort of not caught up, and you know, that can be a lot of people can be still stuck in the past, and you've got to move with the times.
You're not trying to promote yourself on MySpace or anything like that.
No, definitely gave that account up years ago.
So moving on to specifics.
Yeah.
Bandai Namco Games.
Sure.
Where are we at right now? What are the games that are coming out soon?
So, we're quite famous for our own IP. We're not just a video games company, we're actually a global entertainment company. So in Japan, we rule the roost. We're number one in Japan through a lot of the entertainment franchises that we have. Specifically titles like One Piece and titles like Gundam that do ridiculously huge numbers in Japan. Now, obviously, being in the UK and knowing my friends over the US office and our European territories, the Western world is different to Japan, and every territory has different tastes. So we are always focusing on our traditional IP that is sort of our bread and butter.
Sure.
And is really popular with the fans and has been around for the last sort of 20 plus years, with titles like Tekken, with Ace Combat, with Soul Calibur, and even Pac-Man. And Pac-Man's taken a different turn recently because we've relaunched Pac-Man and given him a bit
How
of
do you
rebirth.
relaunch Pac-Man? Pac-Man 2, quite literally.
Well, we've kind of got sort of two sort of strings to Pac-Man's bow, in the sense that the classic Pac remains within our as our most important mascot, our most important IP.
Sure.
So as just from a licensing perspective, Pac-Man is huge. Whether it be T-shirts and every piece of merchandise you can possibly imagine, Pac-Man has attached itself to it, or licensees have licensed Pac-Man.
So iconic.
Massive,
Yeah.
hugely.
Yeah.
And in the 80s, Pac-Man dominated the 80s. Pac-Man was like the Coca-Cola, the Levi. It was the major brand. It was responsible for many TV commercials. It took over many buildings. It was huge. It was a huge part. There was a #1 hit song.
Really?
I
I didn't know that.
It won timeless amounts of Guinness Book of Records, one that we set again recently. So that kind of remains, and that's really important to us to look after. I remember sort of thinking, how do the kids know who Pac-Man is? But then I thought, they know about everything. So I think the IP is strong enough. It's got something like a 96% of world awareness rate, which is huge.
Wow.
So that means like pretty much everybody in the world knows who
So that
Pac-Man
makes your
is.
job as a marketer easier, presumably.
Well, yeah, but even though its awareness is high, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody wants it.
That is the largest version of Pac-Man is probably ever, I imagine.
Yeah, it was the largest architectural projection mapped video game, and that's actually a real photo, high definition. So it was played by the Gadget Show on one side, and it was actually played and beamed onto the building right across the river on the world's largest controller as well. And it was amazing. It looked incredible. So,
Well, that is taking the whole freaky want for a bigger screen to an all new level there, quite frankly. So, moving on from Pac-Man,
sure.
even though he is awesome,
Yeah.
what other things are we looking at this year for Bandai Namco, and what about the future?
So recently we've launched some free-to-play titles to sort of grow the audience of some of our established IP, but audiences change. For example, Soul Calibur, we've launched a free-to-play title. Ace Combat Infinity, we've launched as free-to-play with Sony's platform, and these are not titles that we've just launched purely to sort of make money out of.
Sure.
The real strategy behind those titles is to establish a new audience. So it's effectively putting a bigger demo out.
So you're giving a taste in a way.
Giving a taste to
Yeah.
a huge array of people to see how the fan base lies on those IPs, to see what the future holds.
So there are
for
bigger
those.
games coming out for larger platforms based on those games.
Well, nothing's confirmed yet, but obviously
Yeah.
there are key IP, Ace
Yeah.
Combat, Tekken, Soul Calibur, and they're not
Yeah.
things that we're just going to walk away from.
So to summarise, I just want to ask you one last question. You're a marketer, and part of your job is to think about the future.
Sure.
The future of gaming. It's a huge subject, a huge question. Hard to summarise in just a few short minutes. But where do you see the immediate future in the next few years going with games? You think this generation is going to be as successful as the previous? Do you think games are going to just become completely digital in the next few years? Do you see a healthy game space?
It's changing, and it changes all the time because technology is changing, just constantly, only recently there's been sort of news about sort of we might end up with hoverboards and that soon, which is great,
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I've always wanted to hang on the back of someone's truck and down Hammersmith.
Well, they better bring them out by next year, quite frankly. 'cause
Absolutely.
Otherwise I'm going to get really pissed about that.
But no, I see games to be a lot more important, and they're hugely important now, but a lot more important in the future. My auntie, my mum, my granddad, who is still alive, he plays games on his smartphone,
Yeah.
Angry Birds and things. My auntie plays, Candy Crush. Whether people like it or not, everybody's playing games. And I actually do believe that a lot of people out there don't quite understand how a video game is made. you know, these things don't just come out of thin air.
Not a couple of guys sitting around a computer saying, "Oh, just you know, load in the pre-made game engine and chuck in a few elements and skins. Oh, you're done." You know?
And kids will understand that, you know, which I hope kids in the educational system and kids at school will start learning. But in terms of the future, it's going to be fun. Who knows where VR is going to go? Is it going to be great again? You know, it took a long time for people to understand what HD was. It took a long time for people to understand what Blu-ray was. But, you know, I think now...
Let alone 4K.
Yeah, let alone 4K, yeah. The great thing about the industry is it's evolving, it's always changing, something new is coming up all the time. And even with controversy, you know, film went through its controversial stages through its 50s and 60s with, you know, pornography and everything. And then games have gone through their controversial stages about being bad for us and causing us to do bad things, which is not true. And then music's gone through its stages of, you know, whether it be a gangster rap or, you know, bad things being said in words and the kids shouldn't be hearing stuff. So any form of entertainment which is consumed, whether it be music, visual or playability, has its flaws, has its issues, has its, you know, its things to go through.
But that doesn't change the fundamental desire for a person to want to play.
Games are meant to be played, you know, films are meant to be watched and music's meant to be heard. And the great thing about video games is it combines all of that.
Yeah, and that's never going to change.
It will never change. So actually the future's bright, definitely, and it's going to continue to get more exciting, I think. So.
Brilliant. Well, let's hope the future is bright for Bandai Namco as well.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Lee, thank you very much for chatting to us today. Cheers.
Still to come.
The weather simulation is very good. It changes all the time. Let's see if the satellite link up is live. Can we hear you, Zach? Rubbish. Wipeout!
Quick, look.
How do you define perfection? Is it the sensual glimmer of light, caressing the carefully crafted curves?
Or the way the rain delicately pulls in the crevices, like a teardrop upon the bosom of a virgin bride?
Or the endless poetry of motion, the last island of beauty in the world?
Clinging desperately to the flawed and imperfect surfaces, as if a window to our very soul and being.
Linger upon the chaste and tantalizing impulses, reverberating, creeping evermore towards my throbbing...
Boy! Shut it, you tits!
Yeah, show us some bloody gameplay!
Project Cars. Yes, another car game, another car racing game.
Do we need another one?
Well, there's always room for a good racing game, I think. But we got a unique view, as you can see on the screen there, a bit of me playing. We went up to Bandai Namco and they showed us this game, so...
for all intents and purposes, the way we saw it, it looks absolutely glorious. But then the way we saw it is the operative word.
It did look glorious, but to tell everyone at home, we were watching it on a... Yes, that was me winning a race.
Sort of.
Supposedly. We saw it on a 65-inch 4K screen running through a PC with two huge, powerful graphics cards. So we saw it in the best possible light, but admittedly, that's probably not the way you're going to see it when you're playing it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a little bit of a difference in graphics and the like when you're watching it on a console.
Absolutely. But in terms of what they're saying about the game, the finished product is intended to represent a realistic driving simulation. In order to differentiate the game from the established industry leaders, Slightly Mad Studios' aim is a sandbox approach to the game, so allowing players to choose a variety of different motorsport paths and grant immediate access to all included tracks. So there's no kind of, like in Forza, you have to earn credits and you have to unlock cars.
Well, I mean, that should be fantastic because that's one of the frustrations of Forza in the sense that there's a lot of, to get to this car, you have to do this. I like the fact that, from an amateur's point of view, when it comes to driving games, that you can just get in there and play anything.
It's well balanced, but Forza 5 was definitely not very well balanced at all for this. So it's kind of nice you can jump straight in, pick whatever car you want to drive, although it's worth highlighting in Project Cars, you can't upgrade your cars. They are as they are. You can change the setup, but all the cars are sort of racing based, and you can't sort of buy like a better clutch or a better braking system. So there's no sort of currency element to the game.
Yeah, I see. Again, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I know, as you can see on the VT, that I'm not very good at car games.
Greg,
at that point,
stood up and
I'd actually gone into a wall, couldn't figure out how to reverse enter. You know, bugger it. I'm done. I'm done. Moving on.
Moving on. Well, in fact, looking at the screen there, you can see the weather. That's another big aspect.
Well, this is something that's very, very fascinating. I don't know loads about different driving simulators, but what's very, very clever about this is the fact that the weather simulation is very good. It changes all the time, but it represents what's going on. So, example here, you're seeing Brands Hatch. This, you can set the weather so it represents what the weather is like at Brands Hatch at that exact time.
Indeed, and you can also set the weather to be on a historic date as well. Whether it was a lovely, balmy, sunny day in 1975, you can recall that apparently, which is quite clever.
If your friends weren't nice enough to give you one of those red letter days where you got to do a lap of Brands Hatch, you can at least go back and drive around Brands Hatch knowing exactly what the weather was like on your birthday.
Indeed, so you can know that exact lap that's going to come in, that rain front's going to come in, and that puddle's going to appear on a certain part of the track. It's all simulated with that amount of anal detail, everybody. That amount of anal detail. So if that's your bag, then you're really going to potentially enjoy this game.
Well, the weather does look good on it. It's very clever the way it's done it. There's various different views, like in all games, but I particularly like the helmet cam. It's very nice, even down to the padding on the inside of the helmet. It's very nicely
again,
detailed.
anal attention to detail. There are over 67 drivable cars and over 52 racetracks, apparently, so a lot of content as well, a lot of content. They're really throwing the kitchen sink at this game, and they have to, because we've got Forza Horizon 2 coming out soon, we've got Drive Club coming out. They're all massive racing games, so it's a crowded space this Christmas to, you know, pick what you... If you can only afford one of them, which a lot of people probably can only afford one of them at this point, how are they going to try and stand out? This is interesting, this bit of footage here. This is actually comparing a real-life driver and the game itself, so...
It was very clever done. This is one of the people who was very much involved in it, a gentleman called Oliver Webb, and also there was Lewis Hamilton's brother was also involved very much in it. And they drove the tracks and they took this footage, and as you can see, they are very comparable. It's crazily good.
Although one thing I've noticed is in the Project Cars footage, they've made the wing mirrors so you can actually see the track from that angle, whereas of course in real life you can't see anything out of those
there's a
mirrors
few subtle
from this
changes.
angle.
You've got the wing mirrors working.
But that helps you.
They've lit up and made the driver, the steering wheel a lot more sort of aesthetically pleasing.
Exactly. You can see the gears you're going through. It's pretty good. It's pretty good rendering. It's funny actually because the track almost looks too sharp on the Project Cars footage compared to real life. It's a bit blurrier in real life, isn't it?
But yeah, so looking at the footage, obviously we saw it in a very spoiled, sort of very nice setup, and so you're not going to have that on the consoles. But from what I can see, it all looks very glorious. But then so did Forza and the like.
Yes,
so
we did see some texture pop in though, which is not so great. Another thing worth mentioning, virtual reality support. You'll be able to play the game with the Oculus Rift and Project Morpheus, Sony's version.
I think that's going to be
very future-proof, the game.
That's going to be amazing. Playing a game like this on the Oculus Rift is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. I think that their thought about this is great. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm not a driver per se. You are.
I drove the game. I enjoyed it. Is it going to be the best driving game out this Christmas? Who knows? We'll have to wait.
I look forward
and see. And
so that's coming out mid-November. So we look forward to that.
Challenge!
So this week, in a brand new segment, we take on a thrilling live challenge against our resident adjutant of adrenaline, Zach Owen.
A veritable jack of many a trade, and unfortunately for me, master of most.
Yes, unfortunately, Jim has the arduous task of facing Zach in a one-on-one skateboarding challenge. Let's see if the satellite link-up is live. Can we hear you, Zach? Can you hear us?
Zach, come in.
Oh, we've got Zach. There you go in the park. Are you ready for this challenge, Zach?
I am ready, yes, thank you.
And do you think you're going to be able to take Jim today?
Hopefully so, if I can push fast enough and the board performs as it should.
So, talking of board, tell us a little bit about the board you're riding.
Today I'm riding the loaded Tantien Flex 2 deck with Paris V2 trucks, FSU Landjaw wheels and bone Swiss ceramic bearings. Hopefully it'll be fast enough to beat him today.
Oh, well, that means lots to me. Both Swiss ceramic bearings. Yes, I know exactly what that means. But most importantly, does it go fast? How fast does it go?
On a good day and a good decline, you can probably hit speeds of 40 to 50 miles per hour.
Wow. So should Jim be concerned then?
Yes.
OK, well, let's get it going.
Yes.
So we've got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater here in HD as such. So It's a game, and basically to explain the challenge,
Tony Hawk here. Come on.
you have to
Take
get
it seriously.
10,000 points by doing tricks, while Zach is racing to beat you by doing 1.5 kilometres around the park. So if
I've
he
only got
gets
2 minutes.
to the finish line before you make 10,000, so go! Zach's off already.
we
Look at
started.
that.
Oh,
It's starting. There we go. And he's off, and he's making good speed. You've only got the 2 minutes to make 10,000 points.
I'm rubbish at
And
this
you're going
game,
to
just
start.
warning you.
Oh, how is he doing? And that's not a good start. Wipe out. Zach, in the meantime, look at him. He's speeding down. Look. He has officially done more tricks than you, and he's not.
This
even,
is not fair. He's
he
a
doesn't
proper
even have to
skateboarder.
do tricks, and he's done well.
I've got to do all the tricks and I don't know what I'm doing.
So there you go. We've also done some because 1,255 points.
Hey, cool.
You're getting there. Any ollies? Oh, straight into the barrier.
Yeah.
Rubbish. Wipe out.
The blood.
Blood.
Of the humanity.
Oh, Zach's already on a nice big long straight there. It's this beautiful sort of lens flare sunset shot. And how are you doing? Oh, 2,517 points. That's it. Oh, 5,000 points.
Yes.
Look
Come on.
at that.
Come on, it's going well now.
It was going well.
It was going well.
Until you face planted again. So come on, can you do it? Oh, a variable heel flip Lian. Zach, in the meantime, is doing the slalom. He's making good speeds. Is he going to do the little twisty thing around the corner?
Slow down, Zach, slow
yes,
down.
he is. He's not going to slow down. He's very good at this. So where's he going? He's going straight towards us.
Jeez.
And how are you doing there, Jim? Are you keeping up with him?
Not too well.
How
I
you
really
doing?
don't have a clue what I'm doing.
Well, 7,289. You're not doing bad.
Yeah, I'm getting there, but it's so hard.
You've got a minute left. You should be able to do it. Look.
Oh, scrapey.
Oh, scrapey business.
Whatever that is.
8,308.
Ollie, volley, scrapey.
Oh, you're in a good position, though. You've got 43 seconds left. You've only got to get about 1,500 more points.
I keep falling over.
Zach, however, is making good speed on the straight there. Look at that. And he's not far from the last corner of the park. He's coming to the home straight slowly.
No, slow down.
So you've got 30 seconds left, 1,500 points to get, give or take. Come on, you can do it. Just one impressive
It was
thing.
easier earlier. I've forgotten how to do it.
Oh, Zach's heading towards the home straight. Come on, you can do it. Oh, look at that, he's speeding. 17 seconds.
Come on.
Is he going to beat you? 13 seconds you got left.
I fell over again.
Zach, come on, you're not going to do it. 9 seconds left to go.
Pride of games is on the line.
You're going to be beaten. Come on. Oh, but you pulled off one of those.
Yes.
Oh my God, he's done it.
Yes,
He's
yes.
done it. And Zach finishes seconds behind you. Oh my God, that couldn't get closer.
Oh my God.
That's it, I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done.
Oh my God.
Oh, poor Zach.
Have I done it?
Unfortunately not, Zach. He beat you just in the last minute. Oh.
I'll get you guys next time.
He probably will as
He
well.
probably will.
That was exceedingly close, with a second to go or
again,
so.
Greg.
That was like in a movie where they're cutting the wire to the bomb with 2 seconds at the end and you did it.
Oh my God.
Well, fantastic. Are you
first
going
ever
to do
challenge,
more
wow.
skating challenges? Is that your thing now?
In a word, no.
Never again. No,
never
I'm done.
again.
Well,
that was too stressful.
that was fantastic. We're gonna be facing off against Zach throughout the series a little
have
bit
more
more.
challenges in the future,
He's the
yeah.
master of many things. So well done there, and we'll see what we have in store the next time.
Coming up!
The female armour is always just ridiculous. It's essentially a bra and knickers.
Look at that!
Oh, but Dalson's coming back.
Throw down.
Mass debate!
Welcome back, and on the debate section this week, Greg and I decided to do something a little bit different. In fact, so different that it kind of doesn't include us, really, does it, Greg?
It doesn't so much. Normally where we're sort of communicating with the people via the Facebook and the Twitter and all that like, this week we thought we'd actually put a real, genuine person in our set. So
That's right, she's our studio guest this week, and she is a girl gamer.
A girl game. Do such things exist?
Oh, well, they do now. Here she is.
Well, there you go. So this is going to be the basis of our very question this week. It's all about girl gamers, and so we'd like
Mhairi
to...
Beverage, thank you for coming on the Board Gamers.
No problem. Thank you for having me, guys.
That's good. It's great to have you here.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
So I think we should let the audience know that one of the things that you've done, as well as being a female gamer, which is fantastic, you did a dissertation at a university based on this. So tell us a little bit about this.
I did do a dissertation at a university. For my journalism degree, I did a 5,000-word investigation into gaming and how it's got that kind of it's incredibly addictive, and it's not really taken as seriously as something like gambling, which is very addictive. And I just kind of looked at how it changed people's lives for the better and a couple for the worse. But I also kind of touched on how the media really focuses on it's just a bunch of teenagers ruining their lives, gaming too much.
Perception.
Exactly, which is kind of what you guys are changing as well, hopefully, by doing shows like this.
Well, we'd like to think so. People forget that it is pretty much one of the biggest industries out there. It's beginning to eclipse Hollywood, and yet it's still considered, you know, it's all sort of teenage boys and what have you. If you say that there's probably more money is spent on it by grown adult men and women, and yet this is forgotten. So it's...
Yeah, this is the prevailing perception. In fact, there was a statistic just came out saying the growth in mobile gaming apps mean more women are playing video games than men, according to a new study, 52% apparently. So
yeah, this is true. I think a lot of it. First of all, you started off by saying girl gamers, and that is something that I find it's quite frustrating. And obviously, it's just
puts a label on it.
Exactly. I mean, you wouldn't say I'm a guy gamer. You would just say I game. And I think that that is kind of what's alienating girls, is they're thinking that their gender has a huge part, it plays a huge part in it. And I think that what kind of alienates girls from gaming is things like at E3 you have like booth babes and things selling stuff, and that doesn't really, you know, girls don't really fancy coming along because they kind of feel like this is an event for men.
So have you found, because this statistics has obviously taken into consideration all types of video games, and one of the largest things in the last few years is apps and the ability to play sort of games on Facebook and social media, and so it's taken into consideration everyone who plays Candy Crush, which seems to be everyone, and Flappy Bird and things like this.
Casuals.
Casual gamers, yes.
Casuals.
Have you found that with, even though obviously he's now saying that there's more official female gamers, even by only by a % or so, than men, do you find people now tarring you with the, oh, you game, so what, Candy Crush and stuff? Is that come up? Or?
No, I don't actually. I find that it's kind of gone the other way. I feel like people do take it quite seriously. If you're a gamer, you're like a hardcore gamer, and that's why a lot of people aren't taking these statistics seriously when we say, well, 51% of women are now gamers, and they'll say, yeah, but they're casual gamers. Yeah, and I think that what we need is a kind of a study that's more specific, a little bit more focused on like console gaming and online games, because that is what would, I think, break this statistic, this demographic, sorry, about gamers.
Sure. It's very difficult because gaming is so ubiquitous, it's so across the board now.
Yeah.
We consider a gamer to be someone who plays Angry Birds on their phone, but at the same time someone who's a hardcore League of Legends player or World of Warcraft player. And they're almost opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to gaming. So does that make it, like say, make it difficult to see where the real area is?
I think that, you know, by that logic, that makes my grandmother a gamer, and I wouldn't consider her one just because she plays, you know, Flappy Bird or whatever, which is incredibly difficult. I'm glad that game is gone. There's a lot of girls in the gaming industry that kind of put themselves out there as a girl, and I think what we just need to do is treat it as if you're a guy. We've sort of set fire to our proverbial kitchen knives with all of this get back to the kitchen stuff, and we have decided to, you know, there's 51%, that's a huge statistic.
Yes.
And I think things are changing, and there's a lot more girls doing walkthroughs, a lot more, there's like loads of famous celebrity gamers and cosplayers like Jessica Nigri, our beloved Jessica Nigri. We love Jessica Nigri on this show.
But boys and girls love Jessica Nigri, so that's a good thing. But looking from another perspective, the conservative think tank, the American Enterprise Institute, has weighed in on this issue of sexism and misogyny in video games, arguing that the whole thing has been cooked up by feminist tech writers and concernocrats, which I think is an awesome made-up word. In a video hosted by resident scholar Christina Hoff-Sommers, the AEI argues that hardcore games are aimed at men and therefore ought to be free to feature imagery appealing to that audience. That's an interesting other perspective from a woman talking about games, sort of saying, well, you know, guys are going to look at a game, they're going to see pretty girls in the game, and there's nothing wrong with that. So how do you feel about that perspective?
Well, I think there's plenty of good-looking male characters on there as well. There's some terrifying ones. I mean, if we talk about something like, I mean, I know you guys don't play League of Legends, it's my favourite game of all time. And what does annoy me is that the female armour is always just ridiculous. It's essentially a bra and knickers and a cape.
It's probably not very good at protecting.
No, it's just not
vital,
logical.
You know, body parts, as it were, yeah.
No, and I think a lot of the female characters are quite, you know, they're very sexual, but, and well, you know, that it's all bras and boobs and
So
arses.
is this your issue more, the fact, so you don't mind sexuality in games, it's more the fact that, well, this is ridiculous armour, that wouldn't protect you at all.
Yeah, well,
a longsword would just slash through you there.
Well, by the same token, surely you should have the male armour being like hot pants or something, you know.
I would not argue, and I don't think any girl gamers out there would, if the men were a little bit less. I mean, you get a lot more ghoulish-looking male characters than females. Every single female character is very, very attractive. It's more the armour thing. The armour thing annoys me. There's no logic in it, and it kind of pigeonholes girls to like tits and bums.
Do you think it's getting better though? That's the main issue.
I think it is, and I think like statistics like this one we've been speaking about today really show that. I think that that's, you know, more women are in gaming, and I think what's more important is that more women are coming forward and not making the point of the fact that they are a girl in gaming.
Exactly.
You know, I'm not a girl gamer, I'm just a gamer.
So to summarise, do you think that statistics like this are a good step forward? It's not enough, obviously. Hopefully soon there won't be references to sex in gaming at all. It will just be, I'm a gamer, you're a gamer, etc.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that they are getting better, and I think that that it's become a lot more. Well, it's not. There's just a lot more girls in gaming that are sort of doing like walkthroughs on YouTube and things like that, putting themselves out there as gamers, and that's what we need.
Well, that's the important thing. It's a step in the right direction.
It is a step in the right direction. Well, so unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. It'd be lovely to talk a bit more about this, but thank you very much for your insight.
Yeah, thank you ever so much.
That was wonderful.
What are we going to be looking at next week?
Our next question for next week is, games today, are they too easy? Send us your thoughts on those.
Studio Guest Communal Retro Video Game Challenge.
OK, it's that part of the programme again where we invite our studio guests to take the Retro Video Game Challenge. And this week, as we have a gamer in the studio, we're expecting very impressive things
here, Mhairi.
This isn't fair.
No pressure.
This isn't a game that I've played in a very long time. This is one I used to play with my sisters when I was
You don't need to justify your
younger.
position. You just need to sit back, relax, pick your favourite character, and just go for it.
Whatever happens, you're going to at least be third. But we're expecting bigger things than you. Our original guest, Paul Stapleton, did very well, beat Blanca in 2 rounds.
I know you said this earlier. You did call that I was going to go with a girl. Oh. Just for you know, for the sake of nostalgia, I'm going to go with Chun-Li.
Chun-Li. Interesting choice.
Rumour has it you once cosplayed as Chun-Li.
Yes,
oh.
this is true.
Unfortunately, we don't have the photos of that. That would be amazing.
We don't have the photos. That would be lovely. So you hit start there, Mhairi, and start once again. And then you've got your character, and once again.
Yeah, game
All the menus here, all the menus.
All the menus.
So here we go,
there
there's
she is.
Chun-Li.
Look at
Chun-Li, and who's she going to be against? It's going to be...
Oh, it's going to be Dalsim.
It's going to be
Dalsim.
He's got a really long reach, Greg. That might interfere with Chun-Li's spinning kick.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Okay,
it's
round
a
one.
spinning bird kick, actually.
Here we go.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, she can remember the special move, and
She
she's being
can.
far too modest, clearly. And that's a great kick there. And Dalsim is already in the corner.
Oh dear, he doesn't seem to be doing much. He's just
Come
standing
here,
there. Oh, there he is.
no.
Biding his time.
No.
And he's... Oh!
No.
Kicking and punching in the ankles. That is not a very nice thing to do.
Come on, whip it. Oh, she's got the throwdown.
She does.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, she's been taken out by a fireball. That is gonna hurt. That's really
I hope
gonna
he
hurt.
doesn't take me down here.
Oh, you're not far off though.
Oh, it's so close to winning the first
One more
round.
hit.
Come on, Mhairi. Oh, but Dalsim's fought back. And she's
done it.
First
Fantastic.
round to Mhairi. Well, there
First
you go.
round to Mhairi.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I have to say, I think our expectations are being met here, Greg.
Good, I'm glad.
This is looking good here.
That's
This is
very
glad.
impressive there.
Yeah, it was close though. It was a lot closer than I would want it to
That's
be.
the way
you
we
know?
like to see it. We don't want to see how people
Alright,
having
okay.
easy fights on the programme.
Well, that's what I'm doing it for. It's not because I'm bad. It's because I'm trying to impress you.
So now
Make
we've got
good television. Very good thinking.
Oh,
there,
she's
right?
whooping him this turn. Look at that.
Oh, but
Oh, he
Dalsim
did
has come back.
throw down. This
You
isn't
needed
fair.
that. Well, perfect would have been great, but still do it. Here it goes.
Oh, she's gone around the back of them, and Dalsim is not ready to fight back. And
Oh no.
he's hanging on by a thread here. He is hanging on by a thread. Can she do it? Yes!
Oh!
Yes.
That was a near perfect round there. You found your
was,
stride there.
yeah,
that
I
was
did.
funny.
Perfect in 2
I'm
rounds.
starting to get my
rounds.
blocks in, which is what I needed.
2
So
rounds.
let's look at the final score.
Is
Where's
it
she gonna
enough
be?
though to get at the top of the league?
35,400. I think that's a brand new high score.
You
Is
are
it?
now officially at the top of our
Yes.
leaderboard.
Oh my God.
Well, we're very impressed. It's been lovely to have you here. And
Thank you
so
so
much
much.
for doing such a great fight there. That's all we've got time for this week.
That is all we've got time for this week. Thank you ever so much for coming in.
Thank you.
We're
See
going to
you
be
next
back
week.
next week. See you then.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.